LinkedIn and every other platform, they will give you benefits for having better engagement rates. And so you'll pay less by having better ads and more compelling ads that people want to click on. So it really is. It comes down to putting together ad copy and ads that actually provide real value so that people want to click.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of QuickMail.io.
Hey, and this is Jack from emailsthatsell.com. Today, interview.
Hey, Jack, just before we start, I've been doing some thinking lately. You know, a podcast won't be legit until we have a sponsor, right?
Okay, but haven't we been turning down sponsors?
I know, but it's hard to recommend something you and I don't use often, and we're already promoting the crap out of our services.
Fair point, but what about the course we just released? Wouldn't you recommend that to our listeners?
Yeah, for sure I would. All right, so how would we start?
Well, for starters, I wouldn't mention that it took us over a year and 3 trips to Japan and Switzerland to record the thing.
All right, let's not do that. But at minimum, I would want to mention where they can find the course. Like, let's put it to, I don't know, course.quickmail.io. Would that work for you?
It works, and then I could share what a few of those early students had to say about it. Like the one from Damien, who said it was by far the best course on cold outbound I've ever taken. Or what did Chris say? The week on sales research and targeting prospects blew my mind. Yeah, we definitely want that in there.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of too easy. You know, people always say nice things when they get results. And at some point, we're going to have to come up with some hard sell copywriting materials of our own. And you know, I'm not that great at that. So I don't know, what would you put on a page?
Okay, how about this? Imagine that instead of getting ignored by prospects day after day, you could just follow a course that shows you how to book meetings with dream clients and automate the entire outbound process so you can focus on closing deals and scaling your company. Plus, there's that money back guarantee and the 8 modules and the bonus podcast interviews. But so far, so good?
Yeah, I like it, man. But you know, I like your style. So anyway, all right, it's getting a bit late. So can we podcast now and review that later?
Yeah, but at least promise me that course.quickmail.io is finally live and people can finally try out the course right now.
Yeah, sure. I already put it live, and just so you know, I added that special price we discussed about for our podcast listener, and then we can leave it here until, you know, we're happy with the landing page. Sounds fair enough?
Yeah, let's do it. What's up, guys? We have a special guest on the show today, AJ Wilcox, coming at you. He's a LinkedIn ads pro. He founded B2Link.com, an agency that does LinkedIn ads. And he's an official LinkedIn partner. He has his own podcast called The LinkedIn Ad Show. And besides managing the world's largest ad accounts, he's also a triathlete and a self-proclaimed ginger. He asked me to say that. AJ, welcome, man.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
All right. So yeah, AJ, tell us about yourself. What did I leave out from that hopefully warm-hearted intro there?
Oh, you got all the good stuff. I mean, about 5 years ago, I started an agency that just does LinkedIn ads. I've been doing digital marketing now for like 13 years, started out in SEO and just really fell in love with LinkedIn and just had to go super deep. So yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years.
Cool. So what was it about LinkedIn that grabbed you?
It was really interesting. At my last job, actually, I went in knowing SEO and knowing Google ads quite well. And so I told my new boss, the CMO, like, here's what I want to do with all the channels. And she was just like, oh, okay, sounds great. Go ahead and execute. But also we started a pilot with LinkedIn ads 2 weeks ago. So see what you can do with it. And I saluted and said, yes, ma'am, absolutely. And walked out of her office and went, what is a LinkedIn ads? But I didn't want to look stupid to my new boss. So I jumped in and started playing around with them. And about 2 weeks in, I had a sales rep who came up to me who said, AJ, we are fighting over your leads. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. It's working. And I went, what is he talking about? Logged into Salesforce to look at these leads, and every single one of them was sourced from LinkedIn ads, even though it wasn't the only channel I was running. So long story short, ended up saying, this is worth investing in. I kept scaling up until I took that to become LinkedIn's largest spending account worldwide. And then after running the biggest account for 2.5 years, I went, this is slaying it and no one's talking about it. There's got to be opportunity here. And that's why I created B2Link.
Very cool.
That's great. I love the story there. So can you tell our listeners what is unique about LinkedIn ads compared to Google ads, compared to, I don't know, search or PPC or the rest of the ads?
Yeah. So LinkedIn ads is really interesting for two reasons. The first is that the targeting is incredible. I mean, we can get down to like specific job titles in specific industries, at specific company sizes, at even specific companies by name. So the level of targeting that you can do is just incredible. And it's this targeting that's at scale. And I'm sure the majority of your listeners already understand LinkedIn's targeting just by the level of searching you can do when you're doing outreach. So it's the same kind of stuff when you're advertising. And the second piece that you should understand is LinkedIn ads are really expensive compared to other channels. Like, we're paying $8 to $11 a click for LinkedIn ads, where you might pay $3 a click on Facebook, and you might pay, I don't know, it's all over the place on Google, but could be $5 to $50.
50. Yep. So AJ, that brings up a couple of things that I'm sure our cold email audience is hearing some bells go off, because as cold emailers, we get to build very specific lists for outreach. We don't necessarily have to pay per email sent exactly, but we're going after trying to get in front of the same audience here. And what we were hoping to tap your expertise on in today's episode is this concept of warming up an email list. Right. So I don't know if, are you familiar? Does anyone do this? Is it a thing to pre-warm an audience?
Yeah. And it works really well. And we actually stumbled onto this by accident. We had clients who they had their maybe SDR team or sales reps who were actively reaching out to people, and they were having a certain level of success. Then we came on and started advertising for them to similar audiences. And the sales team came back and kind of said, this is interesting. The tone of our conversations are changing. They used to be kind of like a hold your arms, like, why are you talking to me? Like on the defensive. And then as soon as they'd seen the ads for a month, now they're saying, oh, I've heard of you guys before. You must be legit. Like, yeah, let's talk.
Really? Okay. So stupid question, but if I'm carefully building a list of, let's say, 100 target accounts and the VP of sales at those companies, would I be able to show an ad to my exact, maybe input email address, output, show an ad to this person, like that kind of specificity?
Yeah, totally. There are two different ways I would do this. You could either go the broad way and say, here is my list of accounts, the companies, the 100 companies I want to go after, and I want seniority of VP, and I want something else on there. Maybe it's their department or something like that.
Okay.
Then I can hit those people in a really wide range. I can also take that email list and upload it to LinkedIn and say, hey, we've got 700 emails here of people we know are VPs in these companies. LinkedIn takes a look at that list and goes, we have matches for 400 of these people, and then we'll create an audience off of that. So you could do both, and you could do both simultaneously, just in case one wasn't covering everyone and the other one can pick up the rest.
So it sounds like you might recommend doing both at the same time.
Yeah. The thing with emails is, LinkedIn doesn't understand everyone's email, because generally people sign up for LinkedIn with their personal email address, and you might capture a professional email from someone, or maybe even vice versa. They signed up for LinkedIn on their professional and they gave you their personal, and so it wouldn't match. So in that case, you might upload 700 names and only 400 of them match. That means you'd be missing out on 300 of them. But if you do this targeting where it's like, okay, we're going to target a little bit broader just at the account level and, spray a little bit more. Maybe you're now showing to 1,200 people or 1,500 people. Maybe it's larger than you'd normally want to hit, but you know that your core is going to be in there.
Hey, I'm thinking kind of maybe an odd question, but would that actually work to try to produce some ads that people don't click on, but still produce the same benefit? So in essence, you'll get basically LinkedIn as a free, impression in a sense, warming up your audience without necessarily, costing you any money.
Yeah, I think there's one challenge to this strategy, which is, you're telling LinkedIn, I'm going to pay you when someone clicks.
Yeah.
So if you put an ad together that doesn't get clicked on, very quickly they're going to be like, ooh, this doesn't make sense for us to show, and they'll stop showing it.
Okay.
But there are a couple ways around it. The best way around it I can think of, there's an ad type called text ads that already has a very low click-through rate. It's 2.5 clicks out of every 10,000 times it's shown. It is kind of the average. And so you could put together just a very simple ad, and they don't cost very much and they don't get clicked on very often, but they'll load every time a page loads on LinkedIn. So if you're targeting these guys with these, you could put just a very simple ad together. Maybe you've got like, you get a little picture. So maybe you put like the palm tree, your logo, and then just a little bit of text saying, here's what we do. That just runs constantly. And LinkedIn doesn't take it out of the running because it's not getting clicked on, because they hardly ever get clicked on. And the few times that it does, it would take them to like a demo page or something where you'd actually want someone anyway. So I think that's the way I would do it.
What's that simple ad called? Like
they call them text ads. So when you go into LinkedIn ads, you'd say, I want to create a campaign. And then you choose your objective. You just say like website visits. And one of the options would be a text ad. They are only in the right rail of LinkedIn, which is only available on computer. So you'd only hit people while they're on their desktop, but it'd be like a really good usage for just that constant branding.
I like that.
Okay. So this is sort of your thing here. Let's say I did have a list of 700 email addresses and I had, let's say, 500 different accounts, and I knew I wanted to go after the senior salesperson at each account. Can you tell me what I might expect to pay and maybe what reach I can expect with that kind of ballpark audience size?
Yeah, give us some numbers.
Yeah, the click-through rates from LinkedIn are pretty low. When you look at, hey, I've got 700 people here, but realizing that if you're running an ad that's in the news feed, it's probably a max of about 1% of the people who see it will end up clicking on it. So chances are you're not going to spend very much money doing this. You can expect, let's say if it's a good ad, you can expect at least 0.5% of people to engage with it. So based off of an audience of that size, you're not looking to spend very much. You might spend, a few bucks a day. So it might be good to warm up audiences because it wouldn't cost that much.
Yeah.
But it also wouldn't have the same impact unless...
Plus it's visual.
Yes, it is. It's super visual. You might see better results if you had a larger list. So if you're going in with, let's say, 50,000 people you want to go after, you could actually spend a significant budget.
Right. If you happen to be in a market with 50K people that makes sense to get in front of. I'm wondering if there's like any way that I can say, okay, LinkedIn, I've actually found the LinkedIn handles for everyone I want this ad to be seen by. Can we target using the LinkedIn URL?
Oh man, I wish we could. Yeah, the one workaround we had for this, LinkedIn was working on a beta where they would connect sales teams who were using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to the ads account. And it was only like, I would say there were probably 200 LinkedIn accounts worldwide who got this access. And the sales team would go and tag individual prospects. It would toss it into the ads account for the marketers to be able to show ads to. So you could get real specific doing that by basically profile URL. But then I just heard like 3 weeks ago, they decided it wasn't worth pursuing and they shut it down. So not yet, but hopefully in the future.
Fair enough. So what about this? Can I target by specific like double quote job titles like CEO / owner / executive director? I mean, can I get granular with the job titles I'm okay with showing an ad for?
Yeah. And just keep in mind that job title is, LinkedIn doesn't understand everyone's job title because it's a free form field. You can write whatever you want. So LinkedIn only understands, I would say, about 30% of job titles. So if you're using job title targeting, you're probably going to miss out on 70-ish% of your audience, unless they're really standard titles. Like obviously if someone has CEO in there, LinkedIn's going to figure that out. So if you want to get that specific, yeah, use job titles. But if you're not ending up with a large enough audience size, you're not able to reach as many people or spend as much as you want, then you might want to zoom out a little bit to like, you can do owner, partner, C-level as different seniorities and layer on departments on top of that. That's a little bit broader.
You know what's interesting is that Jack and I are like sort of like pushing you into getting like a smaller audience and like more targeted, and you're like pushing back saying like, yeah, but let's enlarge that a little bit. So that's super, super interesting. That reminds me a time like talking about like going narrow. That reminds me of a time or a hack that I saw that one person was trying to get in front of someone that he had no connection to and it was impossible to reach out to. And so he created a LinkedIn ad with the minimum number of company specific and like a title specific so that basically only that person could see it. And I thought that was pretty clever. And then he managed to have his friends just all around, just phoning him and say, who's this guy who wants to see you? You know, because the ad was just mentioning that. So that was like super cool. Is that still effective? Like what's the minimum? How much granular can we actually be? And then we can look into more broader things, but we're very interested in like super laser focus, you know, on just one person if possible. Ideally that is, right? Ideally, this is like personalization of ads for just one person, you know, looking at LinkedIn. How cool would that be, right? It's like, Jeremy, I need to speak to you. You know, just like, wow,
super
so cool.
Yeah, Jeremy, you are speaking my language. There used to be a little bit of a hack, and this has been, 4 years ago. At one point, we had a hack where we could get down to an audience size of 1, and I could personalize ads to an individual person. But since that has been patched,
and freak them out.
Exactly. Yeah. And used to be, this was something really well known with Facebook ads. Their minimum audience size was 20. And so you could upload an audience list of one man's email address and 19 women,
nice.
Upload it and say, here's my audience. Oh, only show to the men. And then it would get down to an audience size of 1. Facebook's fixed that. So is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's minimum now is 300. But if you want to do what you're talking about, the best way I've found to do this is in the ad, you put the person's name, like, hey, you're connected to, or you know this person's name. He should know about us, or we should talk. And you show it to just his department at his company. And then all his employees are all forwarding him screenshots being like, hey, have you seen this ad? And he's like, yeah, of course I've seen it. Everyone's sending this to me. And you can make a little bit of a splash that way.
And you do that by saying, okay, account of 1. There's just one account, but then department has an open-ended. So accounting, for example.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do?
Yeah. And that would require that this one company has at least 300 people in accounting, which would be a pretty big company. But you could, if you're trying to reach a senior sales leader, you might say, anyone who is in sales or business development in this company, see if that gets above 300. And if not, maybe you open it up to like,
sure,
you could open it to accounting or finance or the whole C-suite or something. Yeah, it'd be pretty fun to do that.
What about this hack? You actually upload an audience of, 300 Jack something. So you got Jack Reamer, Jack Belson, whatever kind of thing, right? And then after that, you personalize it to just Jack. Is that something
that would be super, super cool. Yeah, get 300 people with the same name. I love it. Yes, do it. And please report back and let me know.
Yeah. I think it's only a matter of time before we have more dynamic ads that are personalized, we're already seeing the company, like what are the ads for recruiting? It's like, Jack, see yourself at Coca-Cola or something, and they'll grab my name.
Yes.
Can a salesperson or an advertiser do this with grabbing a first name?
Yeah, there are 2 different ad formats where you can personalize it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
The first is exactly the one you mentioned. LinkedIn calls these dynamic ads, and you can do like insert first name into the ad copy. So that one works. I sure hope they bring that to the rest of the ads. The other one is called message ads, and it's kind of like receiving it's a sponsored email. It comes like an email to your messaging box, and you can insert all kinds of fields there, like job title, company size, first name, last name, company name.
Does that work? In terms of results, which one works best?
Those ones are really expensive. People expect them to be personalized, so you probably won't get the shock factor. So if you have an offer, here's the difference. If you do dynamic ads, you're going to pay every time someone clicks. If you do these message ads, you pay to send it to someone with no guarantee that they'll see that they got it or open it or click on what you want them to click on. So the way that the costs generally work out, if you have like a normal kind of offer, you'll pay 35 cents to send it to someone, and then half will open it, and then 3% will click on it. And so you end up with like a $23 to a $58 cost per click, which is really high. On the other hand, if you have an offer that feels really special, like because of who you are in the industry, we want to give you early access or a sneak peek at something, or invite you as a VIP to this in-person event we're doing, something like that, people would go, ooh, this feels special. And they actually would open it. And that would end up getting much, much lower costs. So if you got something special, use message ads. If it's not so special, you just want to get their attention, then dynamic probably makes a lot of sense. You only pay like $6 a click for dynamic.
And just for reference, the text ads that you had mentioned earlier, what are you paying for a click on those?
Text can go all the way down to $2 for a click, but most are paying $3 to $5.
Thanks.
So AJ, let me just quickly ask you a question about our listener. They come from very different industries. You have some in recruitment. You have some in a lot of industries. Do you have some stats or some measure of success depending on the industry, so people got a better expectation as to, okay, that's probably not going to work for me, or I'm doing great, or I'm not doing that great?
Not too much by industry.
Okay.
It more closely follows who uses LinkedIn and who doesn't. For instance, at one point, I tried to reach door-to-door salespeople, and I was trying to recruit them for a client. And we very quickly found out those people are on LinkedIn, but they don't spend any time there because they're out knocking doors all day. And so they don't work in front of a computer. Same thing with doctors and dentists and nurses. Well, doctors and dentists specifically, surgeons. We're going after them, and they're there. Like, there's an audience size, but they're not spending any money because they're never on their computer. They're working with customers and patients all the time. So we've found success in pretty much every industry out there. It just comes down to, does your ideal target frequent LinkedIn enough to spend enough money on them?
I have a theory for this, and that is, are the people that you're targeting, do they have customers that are on LinkedIn? In other words, is it smart from a business standpoint to spend time on LinkedIn for your prospect? And if yes, by all means, LinkedIn is your platform. And if not, if it's a surgeon, if it's a personal trainer, could potentially find clients on LinkedIn, but maybe not. Yeah, we had Nathaniel Bibby on here, and he told me, he's like, even hairdressers can use, LinkedIn, because look, maybe they're going after a particular, kind of person. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that.
I actually totally agree with that. In fact, I have something to support it. What we've found is anytime that our customers are going after people in a sales function or in an HR function, we see costs are $1 or $2 cheaper per click than they are from pretty much all the other functions out there. And I mean, it makes sense. These are people who live on LinkedIn, so they always have it open in a tab. They're creating a ton of ad inventory, which brings the relative cost down for everyone. So yeah, I think there are some like doctors and dentists who probably get bid way up and they're never on there, so that it won't ever spend. And then you've got some like salespeople in HR that you'll probably get a ton of volume from and not have to spend as much.
Very true. And I think meanwhile, LinkedIn is trying to battle getting more of their users to be active users. It's sort of like, I'm not sure when this episode's going to air, but there's a current toilet paper crisis. Unless you're at home with the bidet, that you're good. But I mean, there's madness going on. And I think LinkedIn is trying to, give everybody else a little taste of that as well. But it's good to know that for the most part, lots of industries can use this. Okay, so with that, our cold email listeners really want to know, AJ, like, okay, let's try this thing out. Let's try pre-warming our cold email list with some LinkedIn ads. Can you take us through a pretty straightforward, let's say, test to see if we can become profitable spending money on LinkedIn ads for our outreach efforts?
Absolutely. So what I want to start you with is, if you're starting to use LinkedIn ads for the very first time, I actually have a free checklist. It's like a startup checklist of, here's the 8 things you need in order to get started. So hopefully that gives you guys all a leg up. The other thing is
b2linked.com/checklist.
Yep, that's it. And the other thing is, if any of you are subscribed to LinkedIn Learning, I have a course on there about LinkedIn advertising that will kind of hold your hand and walk you through every step of advertising. So it depends on how hungry you are. That could be worth checking out. But here's the basic test I would do. I would gather all of the email addresses that you have access to, and you go into your very first LinkedIn ads account. You click on something called account assets, and then there's something called matched audiences. Okay. So this is where it's going to let you upload your list of emails. You take, let's say you've got that list of 700 email addresses. You go and upload those. You wait 24 to 48 hours for LinkedIn to process them and tell you how many it matched. And as long as you match more than 300, you're good to go. So then you go and
so that's
create a
how it works.
campaign. Yes. Yep. That's it. Then you'll go in, create a campaign, and assuming that this campaign is trying to send people to a landing page, you could use an objective called website visits, or
And AJ, for our purpose, just keep in mind, maybe our listeners are like, no, we just want impressions. I don't really care about sending people. So what's like the most cost-effective way to get an impression? What would you tell us?
Most cost-effective impressions, I would say, would be to use the engagement objective. And what you'd do, you'd end up paying for any time that someone hit like, comment, share, clicking on the ad itself. But you'll pay about 35% less than what you'd pay per click usually. So it's a little bit of a cost savings there. And then make the ad, I guess I would say, make it so people would want to click on it, but not have any reason to socially share. So you're not paying for those extra, like the social interactions.
How the hell do we do that?
Basically, if your call to action is come here to learn more, like click here to come to our page or to get this certain kind of offer, then there's no reason. Then there's no reason for people to hit like, comment, or share. Like you're not asking them to comment.
Or click here to improve yourself if you're a terrible HR manager.
Yes.
You know, they wouldn't want people to know about that, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're a terrible person, click here. You probably have a lot of like really curious people going, what is this?
But you
then
could put a picture of a porcupine and then you say, click here, right?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Give them no reason whatsoever to interact or click.
But remember, we want them to see our brand though. So, not to be the humor police here, but we probably do want the brand logo, not a porcupine.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
okay.
I like
Cool.
that. But something that brands you. And then you'll go and just select that list as your only targeting. So you might say, North America or US or whatever, plus that list, that's your only targeting. Then you're going to scroll all the way down. And instead of using what LinkedIn gives you automatically by default, they'll give you a kind of bidding called automated bidding. You want to change it to cost per click or CPC instead, because automated bidding is more expensive about 90% of the time. And LinkedIn wants you to overpay, obviously. So you change to cost per click, and then you just start with bid that's maybe about what they recommend, maybe a little bit lower. And then your goal is just to run this thing. I think a really good A/B test would be like you go to the next screen where you get to create your ads. And if you want to just see like, hey, what do these people like more? If I have one ad that's like a big image of my logo and then another image testing against another ad where the image might be something like, here's my coworkers in their office or whatever, but the ad copy is saying like, hey, here's what we do. This is what we're good at, and test and see. And then when you start getting click-through rate numbers, one will have a higher click-through rate than another. You'll know, the one with the higher click-through rate is more interesting to them.
Okay, cool. So I have to come back to this topic on ad copy because I'm still not quite clear on what I should put in this ad. So I know maybe the CTA is learn more or check it out for more information, something like this. But if I'm using this campaign to warm up a list that I will be contacting through another channel, such as email, I'm just wondering if you have any tips for, what we should put in there besides our company name, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, usually the goal of LinkedIn ads for us as performance marketers, we're trying to capture someone's email address. But where you already have their email address and you're just trying to capture their attention, I think sending them to a like really good blog post or a really cool piece of news about the company. Like right now, we're recording this amidst all the COVID stuff that's so crazy. And so if you had a blog post that was like, hey, our CEO is offering something for free for those impacted by COVID, you might send people to that just as like a goodwill offering, but something that makes an impact that they would actually want to go and consume.
So we don't even need to worry about setting up a separate landing page. We can just say, all right, this blog post was pretty effective, or we're really proud of the content. Let's send people there. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, AG, what would be the difference between actually posting, an actual post on LinkedIn and trying to get engagement with that? If the blog post is so good that people will want to click on it, then there's no point in advertising for it. To some extent, we could just let the natural engagement of the platform, or am I like missing something here?
No, you're right on. when you are sharing something organically on LinkedIn, first of all, LinkedIn organically is amazing. It's the easiest network in the whole world to go viral on right now.
Yep, I heard that too.
So yeah, I love it. It's incredible. But what happens is when you share things organically, you don't control who sees that. So you might have this list of 700 people who are targets that you really want to get in front of, but you have no guarantee that that's actually going to get in front of them. But
fair point.
If you're running it through ads, you can make sure that these are the only 700 people who are going to see this, and you could create it like that. So I feel like the same kind of message is going to resonate with both audiences. But if you need tight control over who sees it, that's when you turn to the ads platform.
Is there some typical mistakes that people do when they're trying targeting for the first time? Like, you mentioned, I mean, it's a silly one, but like if you forget to put America, for example, and your product is only for Americans, then you're basically wasting a lot of resources. Is there some of those things for other filters maybe?
Yeah, I think there are some things that are, maybe LinkedIn has made them unclear. So it's difficult. There's a seniority. So it'll go like C-level, VP, director, manager, and then there's one called senior. And a lot of people go, oh, senior, I'm looking for senior VPs or I'm looking for senior managers. This is perfect. This is who I want to hit. And what they don't understand is LinkedIn calls senior individual contributor. So there's sometimes where people are trying to target executives and they throw in individual contributors into it, which is not what you want to do.
Got it.
The other thing,
help me out, because individual contributor sounds like a contractor or a consultant. Is that what we're talking about? Or
no, it's more of like, you're not entry level, but you're not a people manager yet. You're kind of that level in between where you manage projects and things, but not yet people.
Understood. I'm really surprised that LinkedIn hasn't figured out a way to rank job titles based on the job title, right? I mean, for our developers listening, there's some Python libraries that can analyze job titles that, I don't know, it feels like it should be easier to filter. But anyways, that's up to the guys at LinkedIn HQ to figure out. But
totally.
At this point in the test setup process, is there another step left, or is that basically it once we've got the creative figured out?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. When you create a campaign, you choose your objective, you name it, you choose who your audience is, and you write ads for them, and then you hit go live. It'll bug you until you put your credit card in, obviously, and then it's off the races. So pretty straightforward. You might be confused by a few little options along the way, but it's pretty straightforward.
And if we're confused, that's where we turn to you. We go to betalink.com and ask away. Question, how long should I wait before I fire off my first cold email to this list?
Ooh, great question. The average LinkedIn user logs in about 3 to 4 times a month. So it's totally possible if you fire this off, if you wait a month, most active LinkedIn users will see the ads like every day or every other day or something like that. So your more active users will see you a lot. The least active users, they might log in, once a month, once every other month, only when they're looking for a job. I mean, who knows? So I would say give it a month so that the average user has seen you 3 or 4 times, and then, fire off your email and see, did I get a higher lift here than if I hadn't pre-warmed them?
Is there some specific angles that sell more? Like, for example, let's say I want to put like a virtual summit in place and I want to have some good speakers and I'm trying to then get them, engaged with that. So I'm doing, an advertisement to target only potential keynote speakers or those sort of things. Or, basically is there strategies that works better in terms of engagement?
I like anything with actual engagement like this. So a virtual summit and a webinar will both serve that purpose.
Yeah.
You will get to know, like, and trust someone faster through, watching 20 minutes of someone's webinar than after downloading like 5 of their white papers. It's so much faster to make an emotional connection. So yeah, if you're trying to make a really strong impact on them, I would say try to go for some kind of like a training medium, a webinar, summit. You'll end up getting a list of people who've signed up, who don't actually show to the webinar, and maybe they watch the recap, who knows. But those who do watch, they will be much more likely to engage, respond, take whatever call to action you have. They'll have higher close rates.
Any hack or any tips? Because basically, I mean, Jack and I are really big fan of strategies, which is basically timeless. But sometimes it's nice to also know some tactics that So what's working at the moment? Is there anything that is, working better than anything else?
I'll give you an example so that it's not just on you, AJ. I mean, surprise, surprise, when I reach out to an influencer, say, like AJ, like yourself, hey man, come on, we'd love to have you on our podcast. That's a really good offer. People rarely ignore it. There's a lot of value all towards the recipient of the email. That's an offer that's converting right now, obviously. Is there anything in your space that's like, oh yeah, if you run this kind of campaign, yeah, it's going to work?
You're guaranteed to get it working, yeah.
On the personal outreach side, there's a lot like that where it's just like you fluff up their ego enough to make it so they want to connect with you, they want to respond. Obviously, you can't put everyone that you want to target on your podcast as a guest. Like there's just limited inventory there. But if you did something in, let's say, a local area, let's say this is just influencers in Santa Monica, California, you could get like an in-person event where you set up and say, we've got room for 20 people here, and we want to specifically invite you as a VIP to this event. I think that always works really well. You have FOMO in your favor. People go, oh, if I ignore this, I might be missing like the best networking of the century here. So I better put it on my calendar. I can't miss it. Where if it's a virtual event, there wouldn't be that kind of FOMO.
Got it.
There's a little bit of scarcity involved, right?
Yeah.
Coming to your city, maybe the only time in your life.
Yeah. And something else, and this doesn't deal with ads, but it is LinkedIn. If I share something, let's say I came up with a really cool new checklist or a template or something that I want to share around, I could put a post up on LinkedIn that says, hey, go to this landing page over here and download the checklist. But I know LinkedIn's going to bury that post because it's trying to take people away from LinkedIn. And so, I've got 7,000-ish followers on LinkedIn. It's going to get 500 views and shut off. So if instead what I do is I put a post up that says, hey guys, I'm giving away this free checklist. Comment down below if you want it. What happens is all of these people start commenting saying, yeah, I'm interested. Every time they comment, it shows LinkedIn that this is a valuable conversation. And so LinkedIn starts promoting it to people outside of your network. And now it goes viral. Now you've got 14,000, 20,000 views on this. And it's the same content, it's the same offer. And the only difference is now you have to hire a VA or you yourself go through and like reach out to every single one of those people to give them the link. But if you're okay to put up with that, that's a really cool hack for free exposure.
That's what I call a first degree problem there. Or sorry, a first world problem.
Totally.
I love the thing. Does this strategy also work with ads? Like, comment down below and stuff, or not really?
It's something I've actually been wanting to try for a long time because ads don't go viral because people don't ever click the social actions. Why would you like an ad or why would you comment on an ad if you think the company's not going to respond? But I am dying to put together an ad that says specifically like, comment down below to get this thing and see if you can get an ad to go viral. I think a video might be the best way to go on that. Like you put together a video that explains like, hey, here's what you're going to get here. I put together this cool template or something. Comment down below if you're interested. Anyone who pulls this off, let me know. I want to be like in on this case study. I want to see this work.
Yeah, I think the theme I've been hearing with adverts or with email or really any marketing channel is the engagement is what's going to drive that campaign success. And, if you've listened to a couple episodes on deliverability, you know that the number of opens and replies and clicks and not being unsubscribed or flagged, those engagements will basically indicate whether or not our message is going to be seen. And it sounds like there's some overlap in the LinkedIn ad world.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we in performance marketing, we're constantly poo-pooing the idea of engagement. Like, oh, just because it has a certain click-through rate doesn't tell us anything. We care about the results. We care about the numbers. But certainly LinkedIn and every other platform, they will give you benefits for having better engagement rates. And so you'll pay less by having better ads and more compelling ads that people want to click on. So it really is. It comes down to putting together ad copy and ads that actually provide real value so that people want to click.
That makes sense. And we were talking about video briefly. Do you have any stats on how video are performing? Do people actually watch it? Do they only watch like 3 sections and then they stop? Or can you give us a little bit of information there?
Yeah. A video view counts as anyone who's watched at least 2 seconds of a video, which it seems a little crazy to me. Like
With sound or without sound?
either. Like it just has to be playing on their screen, and it will play muted. So it's playing without sound for 2 seconds as you're scrolling down.
Yeah.
If you're slowly scrolling, you might count as a view. So I don't love that. But it's about a quarter of everyone you're targeting will end up being a view. Then people don't have a whole lot of time on LinkedIn. It's usually pretty short view times. You'll see some pretty steep drop off if your video's longer than, let's say, like 40 or 50 seconds.
Okay.
There's probably not a whole lot of people who will watch to the end. But I think LinkedIn's video ads in general are really weak right now. There's no retargeting. Like, say, for instance, on Facebook or YouTube, you could say, hey, if you've watched at least 50% of this video, now I want to show you the next one in the sequence. We can't do that on LinkedIn yet. They're saying in October we'll probably be able to. But as of right now, you pay LinkedIn expensive costs to show someone a video, and then you don't know what happens afterwards. You can't follow up. So I don't recommend video yet, but in October, I'll change my tune.
Final question for me. If I'm running LinkedIn ads, will I be able to export a list of everyone that has either seen my ad and or clicked it?
No, but I've got a little hack for you. So LinkedIn will keep everyone's personally identifiable information separate from you, even if you gave their email address so you already know who they are. LinkedIn won't share anything like that with you until they fill out a form and kind of identify themselves. That being said, anyone who does a social action, a like, a comment, or a share, their profile is attached to that ad as...
Yeah, you can view it.
Yes. So one of the hacks here, it's certainly not going to be everyone, but let's say you're showing ads to a few thousand people and your ads get 6, 7 likes over time. You can go in and view the profiles for each of the people who liked, commented, shared, and reach out to them offline and say, hey, I'd love to be connected with you because I saw you liked this ad, and then start a real conversation with them. I think that's a cool way of identifying people that LinkedIn wouldn't show you who they were otherwise.
Yeah, there's a concept from Perry Marshall that I'll never forget. It's called racking the shotgun. And basically you make a splash and you see which prospects react to it in a unique and a special way that indicates it is worth your time to select them specifically in order to see if they can go to the next step, to isolate the 20% of the market that's responsive to your offer. And it sounds like anytime someone likes or comments, or this is your warmer list. And so anytime someone does that to a post, or, I love email marketing. So if I have anyone who clicks a link and checks out a particular page on my site, they get a phone call from Jack. A lot of times, like sometimes on a Friday, I'll just block out an hour or I'll just call up people. They're like, what's up? It's Jack from that email list. And most of the time, since they have identified themselves as good prospects, hey, what's up, Jack? Yeah, I just saw that email, whatever. And it's never been a waste of my time if let actions identify prospects that you should reach out to. So long-winded answer there, but I'm digging the topic. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. I love that tag.
Last question from me. When is it time to actually stop, trying? Is there like, I should really give it a go for 2-3 months, or, after 1 week, I can cut it, it's not working?
Yeah, I would say 2-3 months is probably really good. If you have a tight email list, it's going to cost you next to nothing to show ads to them constantly. So no big deal there. If it's a big list, you might actually be spending some money doing this. But yeah, I'd say within 2-3 months, the vast majority of your audience will have seen you. Plus, let's say you start sending your email sequences after 1 month. So they'll have seen several emails from you by that point. And I think you've done your job, and I think you can retire the sequence at that point to anyone who hasn't responded.
So I can't just call it just after 1 or 2 days. I really have to wait longer in order to figure out if that's really working or not.
Yeah, you'll have LinkedIn, the average user's logging in 3 or 4 times a month, and each user probably needs to see your ad 2, 3, 7 times to really make an impression on them.
Got it.
So yeah, just make sure you give enough impressions that they'll actually notice when they send that email.
Cool. And AJ, with like a list size of, 1,000 emails, you'd say wait 2 to 3 months and a couple $100 or $1,000. I mean, what, like price point? $5 to $1,000?
Yeah, I think with an audience of that size, you'd probably be looking to spend somewhere between $200 to $500 a month, maybe even less. So yeah, it's pretty cheap impressions to warm that audience up. I think you'd get much better conversations out of it.
Hey, I'm sorry. I have a last final question, actually. Another
Bring
one.
it on.
One thing that I really like is actually continuous things. So I don't like to say like every 3 months I have to regenerate my list and so on. Is there a way to actually keep on feeding without always having to regenerate a new list, redo a custom audience and everything else? Is there?
But I should tell you, Jeremy, in cold email, how would you do that?
Well, I mean, you can effectively do that to some extent. Like, with Sales Link Navigator, you do have like new people entering the field, for example, that give some new people that you can add to your list. And I'm a big fan of having, buckets, in Quick Mail. So you actually load your buckets and you keep on filling it with people, and then you don't really have to take care of the sequence itself. But here it seems like, do I need to recreate my ad every time, every 2-3 months with a new audience? That's basically my question here, or if there is a way to get that more streamlined. It's my engineering mind, kicking off. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think what happens is you would upload your initial list.
Yeah.
And you can always keep that list going. And then you can upload a new list at some point and add it to it. So now this campaign is running 2 lists. And then after a little while, you could add a third. You could subtract the first one. So this can be.
Oh, you can also subtract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this can be a very flowing, organic kind of list.
Got it.
And then just to keep things fresh, you could go in once a month, twice a month, and just try new ads, try saying something different, try changing the images. That can keep things fresh for the same audience so that they keep seeing you and don't get banner blind to you. So I think both are totally possible. And I like the idea of keeping it fresh.
Love it. Thanks.
Well, AJ, you've definitely covered the topic on how to run a pre-warming campaign with LinkedIn ads for us cold emailers. So thank you for that. And please tell our audience where they can go to get some more goodies from you in terms of LinkedIn ads.
Awesome. Well, if you go to b2linked.com, that's our website. You can listen to the podcast there, subscribe. You can reach out to me. If you fill out the form on any of those pages, you just go right to my inbox, not to a sales guy or to you don't get put on our newsletter or anything like that. And check out LinkedIn Learning if you want to try taking the course on LinkedIn ads to have me kind of walk you through the whole process from soup to nuts.
Awesome. And can you actually add or throw a few recommendations for some books that were really instrumental in your professional career?
It's funny. I'm not a big reader, but I love podcasts and I love audiobooks. So audio is kind of my world. So if I can add podcasts to this list, I probably get 2 or 3. So in my world, there is a podcast called the Social Media Marketing Podcast by Michael Stelzner from Social Media Examiner. And that's a total no-brainer. If you're doing anything with social media, that's one of the best podcasts. It's probably the best podcast out there.
Cool.
And there's also a podcast called Linked Informed by a guy out of the UK named Mark Williams. And it's all about LinkedIn and it's all the organic side. So if you want to learn what are the best tactics to connect with people and to get your content seen and go viral, I pay really close attention to his blog or his podcast to stay up to date on all those strategies.
Sweet. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm scrolling through my list. The only other one I see that's real close is my own. So you want to go deep into LinkedIn ads? That's a good one, but it's also new. There's only 9 episodes, so it may not go as deep yet.
Hey, we also started with 9 episodes, right? And look where we are now. So
that's right.
And don't feel bad for recommending your podcast when we asked you what podcast should we listen to. When John Carlson was on the show, we said, John, what books are you reading? He's like, yeah, I've read business and marketing books my whole career. Now I'm just having fun with other books and, my own books too. You can check those. Self-promotion's all good, man. As good marketers, we kind of got to do the necessary evil, right?
That's right. No one likes to self-promote, but sometimes you gotta.
That's right.
All right, man. Hey, thank you so much for the conversation and for schooling us on LinkedIn ads.
Hey, anytime. Have me back for round 2.
Thanks, AG.
All right, see you guys.
Hey, cold emailer.
Yeah, you.
If you got some value from this episode, give us a high vibe by sharing a 2-sentence review on iTunes.
Or Stitcher, or TuneIn. That works too.
It's a quick way to help other growth-minded folks like us find this podcast
so they can send awesome emails
and make everyone's inbox a better place. Thanks.